Recruiting often looks like a brutal loop: finding a resume, sending a cold email, booking an interview, and starting all over again. Digital networking platforms were supposed to make this easier. Instead, they opened the floodgates, drastically increasing the sheer volume of applications a single person has to process. Corporate leadership looks at this massive administrative load and sees an expensive inefficiency. They see teams bogged down by manual sorting, requiring bloated headcounts just to keep their heads above water. If your entire workday consists of manual, repetitive sorting tasks, you are sitting in a highly vulnerable position. Algorithms process these administrative tasks exponentially faster and cheaper than human teams ever could. As this funnel diagram shows, an AI can parse thousands of resumes, generate complex search strings, and draft 5 distinct outreach emails before a person finishes typing "Hope you're doing well." So the question facing the industry isn't whether artificial intelligence can do recruiting tasks. The software proves every day that it can. The industry's fear centers on a single question: can a machine replicate a recruiter's judgment and emotional intelligence? The technology acts as an evolutionary pressure. It is actively hunting down the low-value, transactional version of recruiting, forcing everyone else to adapt. Let's look at the transactional recruiter. This is a middleman whose primary value is copying resumes from one folder to another, forwarding candidate information, and sending generic outreach messages. This specific archetype is facing extinction because an algorithm outperforms humans in volume and consistency. Humans get tired, we get bored. We stare at spreadsheets and feel emotionally wounded when a candidate ghosts us after 3 great calls. A machine requires none of that. It doesn't need coffee, and it doesn't take rejection personally. Agencies and corporate teams built strictly on this low-value resume forwarding model will be entirely squeezed out by automated software. For the people who only act as human routers for information, software serves as a direct and immediate replacement. But there is another archetype: the strategic recruiter. This is an advisor who understands market dynamics, complex business needs, and the psychology of why people actually change jobs. This scale visualizes where human complexity breaks rigid algorithms. A candidate asks for a 20% salary bump, but secretly wants stability or autonomy. Machines analyze words, but a person reads hesitation, navigates expectations, and decodes subtle emotional shifts during negotiation. The strategic recruiter survives through leverage. They hand the heavy administrative busywork to the machine, transforming a direct threat into a hyper-efficient assistant. This split frees them up. It empowers the strategic recruiter to focus entirely on ambiguity, trust, and the human stakes of career decisions. Companies run into serious trouble when they push automation past administrative support and hand over final decision-making power. This node map demonstrates the risk of scale. Human mistakes are localized, but algorithmic errors scale instantly. One flawed screening rule can quietly reject hundreds of highly qualified, unconventional candidates before anyone notices a problem. Relying on completely automated scoring systems risks hiding deep biases behind a veneer of objectivity, completely ignoring the necessary nuance of human context. When a process becomes a series of automated rejections and generic emails, the candidate experiences something cold, confusing, and dehumanizing. This actively damages the employer's overall brand. Pushing past the threshold of human judgment fails to save money in the long run. It actively drives away top talent and scales systemic failure across an entire organization. Candidates are already using AI to optimize resumes and write applications. With both sides relying on algorithms, the baseline of the hiring process has moved. This creates a unique paradox. When everyone can automate outreach and screen resumes instantly, genuine human warmth and thoughtful evaluation become a rare, highly valued premium. The future recruiter is part technologist, a part advisor, and part disorder manager. The software will handle the paperwork, coordinate the complex scheduling, and generate the first drafts, but it cannot shoulder the human stakes of changing someone's livelihood. To survive the AI frontier, you have to let the machine clear your desk. Only then can you finally own the conversation.